Hey sportsman, John Bergsman here with the Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest and the Fisherman's Digest Hot Bite Report, coming to you from beautiful Captain Chuck's 2, brand new store here in Ludington. We've been waiting a long time for this store to open. Scott's been working hard. It's open and it is stupid, all the stuff they got. It is great. It's got all kinds of expanded areas like for bass and for walleye. They've always had one of the best selections for salmon and silverfish, of course, but this is a place to go. They've got hunting equipment. They've got lots of square footage. Stay tuned. We've got 5 great reports for you. Saginaw Bay, the Indian River Sheboygan area, Marquette, Western UP, and ending up right here in Ludington, Michigan, here on the Hot Bites Report. So we're going to start out today on Saginaw Bay, and it's been one of the hottest fisheries anywhere in the state right now. We're going to talk about a couple presentations that the guides have been telling me have been working exceptionally well. The first one is spoons, mini spoons. We got a lot of guys using our little Dreamweaver mini spoons. Purple and gold has been great. Anything real bright like a mixed veggie on gold has been good. Also silver, blue with pink slash and some black dots. That's been a great color as well. And what they're doing is running them 2 different ways. The first way, and probably the most common way, is that they've been running them on lead core. The best presentation right now for the middle of July seems to be a combination of 1, 2, and 3 colors of lead. Just literally a 20-foot fluorocarbon leader, probably a 15-pound leader. Make sure you got a good ball bearing snap swivel on the spoon side of it, and then just hooking on one of those little Dreamweaver mini spoons and running it out. As soon as you get past the last bit of lead, hook your offshore board on, you're ready to go. So again, that's if you have 6 rods, for example, you'd run 2, 3 colors, 2 colors, 2 1 colors, and just a mix of spoons and let the fish talk to you. Dark days, dark baits, bright days, bright baits. There's another bite that we're going to talk about here in Saginaw Bay from Linwood North all the way through to Gray, and that is the shoreline cabbage weed bite for largemouth bass. It has been lights out, and this is not something that a lot of people talk about. They talk about the smallmouths out on the shoals and by Little Charity Island, but there is a huge largemouth bass population that live right there in those 6 to 10 foot cabbage weed growth that happens literally from Linwood Beach all the way north to Gray. You're going to find stretches in that 6 to 10 foot of water where you got big cabbage weed flats. And those cabbage weed flats are filled with really, really nice largemouth bass. Right now, 2 great ways. We'll talk about it in our tips segment, but we're catching them just flipping punch bugs, just rodents or rage bugs on a 1/2 ounce to a 1 ounce punch weight right in front of it, fishing it weedless Texas style, you know, just Carolina rigging it so your hook's not exposed. The second way is when you get to the edges of it with some exposed water above that cabbage, chunking thunder crickets at them and just slow rolling those thunder crickets right along the edges. Guys are catching lots of bass, but we'll have a great Strike King segment for you in between one of the reports, so pay attention. I'll show you the exact baits, the exact rods I'm using to catch these awesome largemouth bass. But that's the bite right now. Walleyes out trolling and largemouth bass in the weeds.
This is our PBCV-4, planer board caddy vertical style 4 unit. So this is a planer board caddy is designed to go right inside of our vertical tree in our slot. 2 stainless steel screws and a stainless steel piece of stock in here tap allows our unit to slide up and down anywhere we want it. Holds 4 inline planer boards in here right on the side of your vertical tree to help keep everything neat and cleaned up for you. Our PBCV-4.
So our next bite takes us to Indian River Sheboygan, and we got a lot going on in this region because we're mid-July and now them trolling bite on both Burt Lake and Mullet Lake for walleye and steelhead on Mullet Lake is going to really start rolling. So how are these guys catching them? You know, this is one of our biggest interest areas, Indian River area, because guys probably know little about how to actually catch these fish. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, there's some really great ways to start. Now, where in the lake, it's an awful darn big lake and the fish move around, so I can't give you GPS coordinates because they'd only be good for a day or 2 and then the fish would move. But I can tell you general presentations. Most of the successful guys who are catching walleyes, trolling bird or mullet are catching them running the same thing as we just talked about on Saginaw Bay. Combinations of 2, 3, or 4 colors of lead core. And they're running them in front of a variety of different crankbaits. The most common crankbaits I'll mention to you: number 5 shad wraps, number 5 flicker shads, number 7 flicker minnows, or the old tail dancer is a really good bait as well. But you get the idea. Not huge baits, just number 5 to 7 size baits, mostly shad style or minnow style. And colors is really a thing of confidence. I like to run purples on dark days. I like to run gold and black on dark days. I like to run crawdad at times. There's also times on those bright days where a silver and blue or a flash and purple top is really good. And the base presentation is just set a spread out. Okay, so let's say you got 2 guys in the boat with you and you're going to run 6 rods. So you're going to run any choice of bait we just mentioned out on 2 colors, and then on the inside 3 colors, and on the tight to the boat 4 colors. That's going to give you 3 different zones that you're going to touch. The key to this is always running the same fluorocarbon leader from your lead to your bait. I like to run a 20 to 25 foot leader. It really doesn't matter what choice you make as long as they're all the same. That way the dive chart really locks in for you. And these baits are going to all run about 5 foot separated apart at 2 to 2.3 miles an hour. And that seems to be the midsummer trolling speed there on burt and on mullet. 2 to 2.3 on burt, 2 to 2.5 on mullet. Why on mullet a bit faster? Because if you were electing to target steelhead, you might want to pick it up to 2.3-ish and hover right in there, 2.3 to 2.5, where steelhead are much more apt to bite. Here's the other thing. You can use that same 2, 3, and 4 color presentation on mullet, but you can also interject some spoons into there. I would probably tell you that a Super Slim, that Dreamweaver Super Slim, is a really good starting spoon. You're in the middle of the summer, you don't want to run a mini there. You want to run a full-size spoon, but you also don't want to run something so big that they're a little skittish of it. Steelhead seem to take that Super Slim really well. I'm going to run that in bright colors on bright days, dark colors, purples and golds on cloudy days or darker days, or early in the morning, later in the evening, and just match the light penetration. But right now, Indian River for Burt Lake, Sheboygan for Mullet Lake, those 2 bodies of water are going to really start to kick a lot of fish out to the guys who spend their time trolling there and figure it out. So get your boat up to one of those 2 lakes, or both of them if you want, in a week. Start trying it out. Once you figure it out, I can tell you from experience, this bite doesn't change a lot. This bite is a good, consistent bite from the 4th of July all the way to into early September. So for 2 good months of fishing, you can learn these 2 lakes really well. And a lot of what you'll learn will work at Higgins Lake too, although there's not nearly as many of the walleye in Higgins Lake. It'll also work there. So Indian River, Sheboygan, Burt Lake, Mullet Lake, get there and get there soon.
A full-featured fishing station, including a live well, places to work, and a place to store tools, is a great feature if you're out fishing. I'm Captain Lance Valentine. Today I'm on the Angler Qwest family fish to show you the fish station. Integrated fish ruler, a live well with both freshwater pickup and recirculation, and a nice flat spot to work, to put tools, and to put tackle. Everything you need in the back of the boat to catch more fish. Be sure to check out the Angler Qwest family fish, the other models, and all the great features at your local Angler Qwest dealer.
So I almost can't even tell you how many fish the guys from Sore Arms Charters up in Marquette have been catching out on the rock, Stannard Rock, way offshore out of Big Bay. It has been exceptional this year. One of the reasons, of course, as we've all are in the middle of it right now, is some of the hottest weather we've experienced here, possibly in history. You know, it has just been super hot, and anytime you get super hot days for an extended period of time, that usually means there's not a lot of wind. And that's one of the keys to catching fish up on the rock out of Marquette, is not a lot of wind. You need pretty slick, flat conditions to really effectively fish out there, partly because it's such a long ride from shore and it's a safety issue. But the guys out there this year have been just laying the lumber to them. since the early part of May, the fishing conditions up there in Marquette have given them at least 50% of the days per month have been fishable, which is very unusual. So how are they doing it? Well, they're deep jigging. And for those guys that have thought about going to Stannard Rock, this deep jigging is really cool. I mean, you're using heavy bass equipment, basically, you know, a flipping stick with, you know, 20 or 30 pound braid, and then a great big old 1 ounce jig. And you're going to go ahead and tip that with white plastic, and body it up with white plastic, and then tip it with an actual chunk of either herring meat, similar to what you'd use on a meat rig for salmon, or the belly of a whitefish or a sucker, where you're just going to hook that on and it's just going to add scent to it. So that's the whole presentation. You're literally trying to get dead still in the water over top of the fish and either extremely slowly drifting or spot locking and dropping right down, reeling up a couple of cranks to get it 6 foot off the bottom, and then just a slow drop to the bottom and lift. And I'm telling you what, these lake trout will come and just rip the rod out of your hand. I saw one, as you see the fish going over your screen, these are all mid-20s to mid-40s size fish, and you're catching these fish on bass and walleye equipment. So it's really a lot of fun. Now, our second report here out of Marquette has been the astronomically good bass fishing. Almost everywhere we have heard guys fishing for bass up in Marquette County, they have been lights out. We were just on Squaw Lake a couple of weeks ago. I think there's a video going to be up on this week on our website about Squaw Lake. There's also really good fishing on the Silver Lake Storage Basin, on Lake Independence. There's a good half a dozen or more lakes right there in the greater Gwinn area that have really been putting out good consistent catches of bass. So midsummer bassin, Stannard Rock walleye, and on the blow days, near shore, Stannard Rock lake trout, and on the blow days, you know, where you get too big of a wind to go to Stannard Rock, the guys are just taking them out, structure trolling on the shorelines right out of Marquette Harbor, nailing them there as well. So get up to Marquette. It's an awesome place. It's got great, safe outdoor activity right now. This is the place to be, Northern Michigan. So hey, we talked about having a little midsummer segment here on punch baits and different options for bass fishing. You know, one of the most underutilized ways to fish for bass in the summertime is deep weed fishing with just a punch bait. Now I've got my regular old speed stick. This is just a Magnum flipping stick with a mock crush reel. I've got 50-pound braid on, so I've got good stout braid. And let me show you the business end, because that's really what matters here, is we've got just a regular old number 2/0 or 3/0 bait keeper hook. And there's the bait keeper right there. I've got that direct tied to my braid, and you can see I've slid that around now. It's completely weedless. And I've got in front of it just a 1 ounce tungsten. Now this might be a little bit overkill for some people. You could drop that down to a 1/2 ounce if you wanted. But all I'm really going to do is to pitch this the same way Florida guys would pitch into heavy mat. You're going to pitch this out in 12 to 20 foot weed edges in these inland lakes that you get. And you'll see all those weed clumps and milfoil and cabbage patches. One of the things that's important to understand is the top of the weed cabbage patches are much more dense and heavy than down at the stalk at the base. So once this punches through and sinks to the base, there's a lot of visibility there for the bass that are in that shade that's created by the top shroud of leaves. Once this punches through and sinks to the base, all you're really doing is it's a first strike. It's a flipping, just like you're flipping mats. You're just going to reel that up and you're just going to flip it out maybe 10, 15 feet in front of the boat, pull a couple pulls of line out until you see it hit the bottom, engage your reel, and then just lift up until you feel against that weight. The fish might even be there already. That's typically what happens on that short flipping into heavy cover. But if he's not, you can just go ahead and jiggle and drag that bait just an inch or two, not big long rips in that weeds or you get tangled up. But just move it a little bit and those big bass will come over, they'll inhale it, you'll feel it. You think you won't feel it through those reeds, you'd be wrong. You'll feel that take, you'll feel that movement. Reel down and just slam into them. Heavy, deep weed. This is a rage bug, by the way. You can do this with a Magnum rage bug and also a rodent. Strike King makes all three. This happens to be the green pumpkin and red flake. Another great color for that deep flipping like that is just a straight black and blue, black with blue fleck. Awesome way, deep weed edge fishing here in midsummer in Michigan. So, just talked to Tim Long from the Western UP and the Timbers Resort. Tim and Sarah run a resort right there on the right on the shores of Lake Ogeebic. They tell me that the bite has been really pretty good this year. You know, Tim was a little bit iffy as to whether it was really going to turn on and be solid. Well, the trolling fish have started to go since the mayfly hatch has kind of tapered off, and those trolling fish are the staple for the whole summer for these guys. Now, how do you catch these trolling fish? Well, you could go to our website, fishermansdigest.com. We've done a couple shows on trolling there on Lake Ogeebic and learn from us. But it's a lot like the way that you'd troll Burt Lake, like we described earlier in the report. You're going to be using either flat line, high, or real light amounts of lead core, 1 or 2 colors at most. And you're going to be running flicker minnows, shad wraps, flicker shads, those types of baits, and you're just going to throw a splash of colors out there. And here's where Lake Ogeebic is a little bit fickle. You're really going to have to hone in on a color. It does seem like this lake has some colors that go. I'd love to say purple is going to work for you for sure, pink lemonade is going to work for you for sure, or purple with gold back or gold with purple back is going to work for you. What I've found is that all of those baits I just mentioned work at times, but there's always seems to be a predominant color for whatever reason. Whenever I go up there and fish, I'll throw a whole splash of colors out there. You know, halfway through the first day, I'll have caught 5 out of the 6 on one color, and it seems like for the next 2 or 3 days, that's the way it goes. So definitely same philosophy. Get out there, flat line, 1 color, 2 color for these main basin walleyes in Gogeebic. Typically, that Bergland area to the elbow is the best area to troll the basin. You're going to be trolling out in deeper water for sure, you know, 28 to 40 feet of water, but they're out there, and when you find them, you'll see them. You'll actually mark them. They aren't skittish to mark. You'll see their little air bladders. They'll look just like walleye, and what you got to do is just be patient on them. You know, they'll have that windows of opportunity where the bite will go, and if you stay close to them or on them, you'll take advantage of those little windows. Also, the Superior shoreline right now from Black River to the Wisconsin border, you're going to see a picture of Tim there in his boat holding a 10-pounder. He also got some really nice silverfish, some coho, some Lakers on that trip. And as you can see from the background, he wasn't very far from shore, maybe out in 40, 50 foot of water. But there seems to be a good number of fish every single year that are flooding out of the areas of Duluth Harbor and stuff and literally making it all the way up the shoreline as far as Black River. So getting up and doing something real unique, which is structure trolling, that Lake Superior shoreline in the area of the Western UP has been very productive. Basically, it's just a crankbait bite and same presentation, 1 to 4 colors of lead core, really tight diving baits or spoons. Seems to be putting a lot of fish in your boat, but it is salmon speed. You are going 2.3 to 2.7. You know, you're not slow trolling for these fish. So get up there to the Western UP. There are so many different spots to fish, so many different things to talk about, but right now it's Gogeebic trolling and the Lake Superior shoreline trolling for mixed bag. Are you in the market for a new trailer? For all your trailer needs, big or small, visit Beck's Trailer Superstore on Highway 127 north of St. John's. So like we mentioned at the top of the show, we're here at Captain Chuck's. Our next report's about the Ludington Fishery, and the Ludington Fishery has really been solid this year. You know, we've had the up and down as far as the numbers of silverfish that have been around from time to time out on the main lake, but there's never been a shortage of lake trout, and Hamlin Lake has not had any shortage of good bass fishing and good panfish fishing. And that's our first stop, is Hamlin Lake. We've done shows on Hamlin, we've talked about Hamlin before, but right now is midsummer pattern for deep weed bass and also deep weed edge panfish. This is one of the most premier bluegill and crappie lakes in the state, and also an awesome bass fishery. So it's got to be on your list when you come to the greater Ludington area to put your boat in and spend a day on Hamlin Lake. Now, if you're talking Captain Ryan Bullard out there from the Ludington Area Charter Association, he says right now the bite is very, very solid for lake trout, and it's got a good mixed bag possibilities for silverfish. And what he means by that is they're getting bit every day by good quality kings and coho and steelhead. The question is always whether you get those big kings in the boat. They've had a lot of days where they've had 2, 3 really hard ripping rips, which are clearly big teens kings, but you don't always hook up and get that fish all the way to the net. And what Ryan's hoping for is a few more fish to filter in. This is the time where they start to turn from the north and come back and set up and stage from basically Manistee down south of Ludington here, and they'll stage waiting to go up the Manistee River, the Pere Marquette River, and other rivers. So they're going to make it back here by late July, and that's really going to be right now on where you've got a really good shot at getting a really world-class king salmon along with a bunch of great fighting lake trout and throwing steelhead and coho into the mix as well. So Ludington right now has got to be on your list of places to go. Captain Chuck's Sports Shop that we're standing in here today is definitely a must stop every time you come to Ludington. This new shop that Scott put together, Scott and Randy and the folks have got this thing completely stocked. When I say completely stocked, if you got a tackle shortage at your tackle store right now, get online, get with Captain Chuck's. He's got a website. Let me grab it for you right here and read it off to you. I'll just step out of the camera right now. If you want to order online, Captain Chuck's has got a new online service where you can just go right ahead into their website and you can pick out the baits you want. You can get them shipped over to you. It's www.capt-chuck.com. So it's Captain, the short for Captain, capt-chuck.com. That's their website for ordering product. And I'm here to tell you, every peg is full. It's not like some of the places I've been earlier this year where every peg is empty. Nope, every peg is full here. They are ready to take care of you and serve you. So get on up to Ludington for fishing, get on into Captain Chuck's for buying your bait, or get online on your computer to see what they got that you can't find or haven't been able to get your hands on. They'll take care of you online. So hey, thanks for joining us here today in Captain Chuck's in Ludington and for this week's Hot Bites Fishing Report. Truthfully, I could have talked about 10 locations, not just the 5 we did, but we always try to keep it to 5 to make this report. We know a lot of you guys are sitting at your desk with a cup of coffee watching this report, so get out in your boat. I know it's vacation time and some of you guys are itching to get out. For those of you guys who still aren't back to work, take advantage of the great weather, take advantage of the great resource that we have here in Michigan. Get out fishing, get on up here to Ludington or any one of our other great partner locations and get traveling and show yourself a great outdoor adventure here in Michigan.